I'm Nikki.
And I'm Jess.
She's the traumatized.
And she's the abandoned.
And
welcome to our podcast,
where we talk about true crime, spooky things, and everything in between.
And today we are talking about legends and myths, which I think we're both doing Lost Cities, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for the because I was like, I have no idea what to do. You're like, I have something for you to do. I was like, oh, this is perfect.
Because I was going to do Atlantis, but I think I remember you talking about it one time, saying you would want to do it. So I was like, wait a minute, did she? Hold on. Let me just make sure if she wants it.
I mean, I had no plans on doing it, but when you said it, I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, so that's perfect. Let me just do that. I mean, it's interesting. It's definitely interesting.
I think so too.
How was your week?
Well, okay and not okay.
I mean, you say week. We record on Thursday, right? So it's been like 3 days.
It's been yeah, it was okay. Yesterday started off great. We took a family trip to the movie theater. It was Beanie's first time at a movie theater. It took all about 30 minutes, and then his ADHD started kicking in, if he has ADHD or if he's just a very active child. We were in the second to last row, so it wasn't too bad, but like during the exciting parts of the movie, he would just like jump up, stand, and like on his seat and, you know, get excited and do those things. But overall, it went pretty well.
Okay.
And then we stopped by Lowe's on the way home and picked up some gardening stuff.
Ooh.
Which then prompted me to be outside and digging around in the dirt. And it didn't seem like it wasn't too hot. There was a breeze, but I was mostly in the shade. But I was also like drinking water the entire time I was out there. But also I didn't eat that much yesterday. Anywho, long story short, I came inside and I'm pretty sure I suffered from heat exhaustion. My brain went fuzzy. My eyes went fuzzy. I couldn't think of the word gray to describe colors. Like,
yeah,
like
that's terrifying.
Like when your brain goes fuzzy, it like thinking is hard. Like I would read words and not understand them, comprehend them at all.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So
Yikes.
yeah, we ended up calling a nurse hotline or whatever, and it's like, yeah, just lay down in a cool dark room. And so that's what I did. And so that's why 2 weeks ago, when you guys are now listening to it now, but 2 weeks ago the podcast was late because I exhausted myself in the heat. So sorry about that.
Oh my god. Well, I'm glad you're okay. You're feeling better now.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. That's so scary.
Yeah.
That's so scary. Okay, so that was your, well, I was gonna say that was your week, but
that was my day, but that was pretty much yeah, that's it.
Because it's only been like 2 full days since we recorded last. So
yeah,
my couple days
are
really busy. I'm feeling better now. It's just like when I wake up my jaw's a little sore, but I'm not on pain medicine anymore, thank god. Like I was literally having to take like pain medicine almost consistently. Like it was so bad. So like halfway through my antibiotics, I'm feeling better. But Thursday night, my grandfather called me and is like, it was Thursday. Must have been after we recorded.
We recorded on Wednesday.
Oh.
In case you're confused.
Dude. I don't know. I need to start working again in 2 weeks. Okay. So freaking lost. So he called me Thursday. It was just like, I think I have a UTI. And I was like, why don't we go to the urgent care today? He was like, I have to go to the VA. So can you come and take me tomorrow? And I was like, absolutely. Now, that grandfather has congestive heart failure. And my grandmother can't see. Like, it's so, like, there's this whole thing. Like, I guess he fell 2 weeks ago and neither one of them could get him up. So, like, they had to call an ambulance to come get him. Like, he is, like, very weak right now. Like, he's
shaper.
It's not great. It's not a great situation. But anyways, so I was like, of course I can come get you. So I woke up early Friday and took him to the VA, which was an experience. It's the first time I've ever been like, and like I was pushing him around in a wheelchair because he can't walk. So he can walk, it's just like very short distances, and so I was just like, we're getting a wheelchair. So we had to go to the lab first, then we went to urgent care, then we had to go to the pharmacy. Like all of it's in the VA, which is really nice. They just take a while. So and I was concerned about him because I could tell he was really uncomfortable. There's just a lot going on. And anyway, So on our way home, he was like, I want to buy you lunch. And I was like, you don't have to buy me lunch. But my grandmother loves this salad from a place that we were passing. I was like, oh, why don't we go get everyone lunch? So we got lunch. We went back. By the time we got there, we ate. It was really nice. Like, it was such a good, like, whatever. It was so tired. I ended up like passing out on there. The three of us knocked out. Like, we didn't plan nap time, but we definitely took nap time. And then my other grandfather called me because he was going into town. He went to see if I wanted to be here for dinner. And I'm like, okay. So I drove like 40 minutes to go meet him for dinner. And by the time I got home, I was like, and then my other grandfather was like, hey, could you, we need groceries. And I'm like, it was right there. Why didn't you tell me that while I was there? I could just have gotten it. Then it was fine. It was fine. So I went back the next day. It was great. I made some amazing memories with my grandparents. It was just very busy and tiring. But I'm extremely grateful to be in Virginia, to be able to do these things because I wasn't before and I felt very helpless. So now I'm here and I'm able to help. So it's good. And then I made buffalo chicken dip. That's the other big thing I did. But yeah,
that's the end of the story.
And buffalo chicken dip. So there's that. I only know that because I've been eating it and it's sitting in front of me. But yeah, I think that's basically it. Start my job not this week but next, which is exciting. Anywho, you want to hear the fun fact of the day?
I do. Fun fact of the day.
Did you know apparently a banana milkshake is the perfect cure for a hangover? I'm going to try it. I need to try this now. It was on the fun fact website. So, I mean, they have to be true, right? Like, what is the science behind this? Why is the banana milkshake the perfect cure for hangover? I don't know, but I need to try it.
Does a banana milkshake taste like the artificial banana or is it made with real banana?
I feel like it has to be made with real banana.
Okay.
I said best cure for, and it said cancer. I'm like, Jesus, apparently it can cure cancer too. So it's a huge source of potassium. So it could be a great cure for hangover. Banana. And the casein protein found in milk can counteract alcohol.
My family always just drank Caesars in the morning, which is more alcohol, but it is what it is.
I mean,
this is what it
hair of the dog is a thing.
Caesar is what? Vodka, tomato juice, Tabasco, celery salt, and then what is it? Anchovy something?
Ooh, how is that? Wait, how is that not a Bloody Mary?
The difference is like Bloody Marys don't have like the little anchovy stuff, I think.
Anchovies are gross.
I think it's anchovies. Hold on.
I mean, that would make sense because anchovies are in Caesar dressing. So that'd be why it's called a Caesar.
Not gonna lie, they are delicious though, and sometimes they do hit in the morning. Instead of a mimosa, I think instead of a mimosa, my family does Caesars.
See, I'm on this new kick where it's not even mimosa. It's orange juice and the Pinnacle whipped vodka. Tastes like a dreamsicle. It's so good.
Oh, okay. No. Okay, so Bloody Mary's features tomato juice, just tomato juice, whereas Caesars use clamato, which is a combination of clam and tomato juice. So it's like clam
clamatos.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the difference.
I got you. Okay. Yeah.
I mean, they basically taste the same. Let's be honest.
I don't prefer Bloody Mary. You know what though?
To each your own.
I haven't had one in years, so maybe I would like Bloody Marys now. Because your taste
buds change. Yeah.
That your taste buds changed. Anyway, what are you talking about today?
So the legend that I'm talking about today is El Dorado.
Ooh.
Whispers of gold had many greedy men flocking to the New World in search of riches. But the legend of El Dorado had conquistadors searching for what they believed was a city of gold. Dun, dun, dun.
Also, side note, I want to watch these two movies now with you at some point. Okay, keep going.
So what is El Dorado? El Dorado is commonly associated with the legend of a gold city, kingdom, or empire, but that's not originally what El Dorado meant. The origins of El Dorado lie deep in South America. When Spanish explorers reached South America in the early 16th century, they heard stories about a tribe of natives high in the Andes Mountain in what is now known as Colombia. And these people would be the Muisca people. I hope I pronounce everything right. I probably won't. Anywho, so I'm gonna go quickly into the Muisca people real quick. But the Muisca people were flourishing in Colombia between 600 and 1600 CE. But there is evidence of them in the region as far back as 1500 BCE. They were transitioning at that time from hunter-gatherers to farmers, like many tribes at the time. Their people were found from what is now the city of Bogota through the surrounding high mountains and valleys of the Andes. Their civilization was just as advanced and thriving as the more famous Inca, Aztec, and Mayan tribes, with a hierarchy in leadership, developed religious beliefs, and advanced farming, craft, and trade practices. Another quick note, their religious beliefs and practices were central to the life and community of the Muisca tribes. Sun worship was a fundamental component of their faith and can be attributed to their fascination and skill with gold.
Ooh.
Yeah. Several deities were central to the faith of the ancient Muisca, but the primary gods were the sun god, the father of the Muisca, and the water goddess, mother of the people. It is also said that they worship the moon goddess too. I'm assuming, the white person that I am, I'm assuming that the water goddess and the moon god are so one and the same. But if not, the water goddess, and then also mentioned was the moon goddess they worship too. So when a new chieftain rose to power, his rule began with a ceremony at Lake Gutavita. The ceremony was that the man who was to become king would be covered in gold dust. So they had like a specific plant that they could rub together and it would cause like a glue or like a sticky thing. Ooh. And they would put it all over his skin and then cover him in gold dust. Then he was sent out on the lake on a raft, which had also many gold offerings on it. Once in the center of the lake, under the sun, the offerings would be thrown into the lake and then he would be deemed the new leader. Also in some tellings, it is said that the man dives into the lake and that is when he's deemed the new leader. But hearing these stories of the ceremony, the Spaniards started calling this golden chief El Dorado, or the Gilded One. So El Dorado actually stands for like a golden man. So, searching for El Dorado. Through the years, the story of the Gilded Man, El Dorado, developed into the legend that we know today. The stories of a golden man developed into stories of golden villages, then into stories of city made of gold. This led many Spanish conquistadors and other conquistadors, like I think there were a couple German and British, but they decided to mount expeditions to the New World in search of this fabled city. Their campaigns unleashed suffering and death and almost wiped out entire native cultures, and some did. One thing to kind of note is like I watched Expedition Unknown. They had 2 episodes on this subject. But one thing one of the historians kind of commented on is how the natives used gold as a way to show worship to their gods, whereas the Spanish just saw it as monetary value. So that's why they were like, oh yeah, they're like, they're holding all this money from us when that's not their purpose. Their purpose was like, this is sacred to us. Don't touch it.
Right.
But you can just tell the main difference between the 2 cultures.
Yeah.
So the first people that I'm going to talk about is the Quesada brothers. In 1536, stories of El Dorado drew the Spanish conquistador Gonzalo Jimenez de Quesada. Again, sorry if I mispronounce any of this. I'm trying my best. I barely passed Spanish class. Barely. And his army of 800 men away from their mission to find an overland route to Peru and up into the Andean homeland of the Muisca for the first time. That makes sense. So, yeah. They're trying to find this route, whatever. The southern Muisca settlements and their treasures quickly fell to the conquistadors in 1537 and 1538. On the Bogota savannah, Quesada received reports from captured natives about a kingdom called Metza, whose inhabitants built a temple dedicated to the sun and keep in it an infinite quality of gold and jewels, and they live in stone houses. After his brother Gonzalo had left for Spain in May 1539, Spanish conquistador Hernan Perez de Quesada, so his little brother, set out a new expedition in September 1540, leaving with 270 Spanish soldiers and countless indigenous porters to explore the Llanos Orientals. Unfortunately, their expedition was unsuccessful after reaching the Quito, which is something we'll see a lot of.
Ooh, okay.
So basically, they did all that and found nothing.
Right.
The next person I'm going to talk about is Pizarro. Imagine somebody saying that with rolled R's. I cannot do that to save my life. So. In February of 1541, another Spanish conquistador named Gonzalez Pizarro gathered a small force of men and set off from Quito, Ecuador, in search of the land of the mythical King El Dorado. In his own accounts of his adventure, Pizarro describes El Dorado as a lake, not a man. Pizarro headed east from Quito with several hundred conquistadors. Sources vary between 220 and 340, and 4,000 native servants.
4,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
Another thing that will be repeated.
Okay.
They had been kept in chains and shackles. So servants, I don't think is the correct word there, but together.
Yeah.
With all those people, they had horses, llamas, and some 2,000 hogs and similar number of hunting dogs. So Pizarro expected shortly to find civilization, including open field, villages, and towns. Instead, marching for weeks and months through the darkness of the rainforest in the rainy season, across mountains, marshes, and rivers, he found nothing but hardship, famine, and misery. Along the way, native people were captured, interrogated by the Spanish, and when they didn't come up with the answers Pizarro wanted, they were tortured, like the worst of the worst. They came to a river at some point, most likely the Coca. The local chief, hearing the cruelty of the Spanish, told them they would find what they were looking for downriver. Just go downriver, you'll find everything. So Pizarro ordered a boat to be built. It would carry men and supplies downstream, while the remaining men and horses made their way along the shore. They proceeded this way for 43 days.
What?
43 days, but found little food and no people. So,
no.
Smart thinking on that chief. Be like, yeah, go that way.
Yeah. Just send him where he knows they're not. Genius.
In December 1541, one of Pizarro's men, Francisco de Orellano, volunteered to take a boat and some 50 men to find food and return. He would bring back provisions as soon as he could. That's what he told Pizarro, which Orellana did, in fact, but he did not return. He just continued until he reached the Atlantic Ocean. Pizarro said this was a great treachery, blah, blah, blah. We don't care. You're a horrible person. Go away. But he turned his remaining men around and made their way slowly back to Quito. They basically became, what is the word?
Are
Desperate.
You say cannibals? Oh.
No,
okay.
There's no
cannibals.
cannibalism.
I was like, oh my God,
this week.
cannibals. That's what the cannibals
They did eat their dogs and horses and boiled up their saddles and stirrups, leathers, and roasted them over ashes, but I don't think they ever made it to cannibalism.
Well, I guess there's
that. Somehow they made it back, staggering into Quito in June. But the expedition obviously never found gold, never found a city gold, not even a hint of gold. But Orellana was credited with the discovering of the Amazon River. So there's that. So next I'm going to be talking about Antonio de Berrio, the Spanish governor of Trinidad, Antonio de Berrio, who was actually the nephew of Gonzalez Jimenez de Quesada, which is the first couple I think we talked about.
Okay.
one of the brothers, he made 3 failed expeditions to look for El Dorado. Between 1583 and 1589, he carried out his first 2 expeditions going through the wild regions of the Colombian Plains and the Upper Orinoco. And in 1590, he began his 3rd expedition, ascending the Orinoco to reach the Caroni River with his own expeditionaries and another 470 men under command of Domingo de Vera. In March of 1591, while he was waiting for supplies on Margarita Island, his entire force was taken captive by Walter Raleigh, who proceeded up the Orinoco in search of El Dorado with Barrio as a guide. So basically, this dude goes out on his last expedition, and then this British guy just is like, hey, you're mine now. Thanks.
Oh my God.
Which brings us to Walter Raleigh. Walter Raleigh's 1595 journey with Antonio de Barrio had aimed to reach Lake Parime in the highlands of Guyana, the supposed location of El Dorado at the time. Raleigh had set many goals for his expedition and believed he had a genuine chance at finding the so-called city of gold, which we obviously know is not gonna happen because it doesn't exist. First,
what?
Or does it? First, he wanted to find the mythical city of El Dorado, obviously, which he suspected to be an actual Native American city named Manoa. Second, he hoped to establish an English presence in the southern hemisphere that could compete with that of the Spanish, which good luck with that.
I feel like we both did an eye roll in different times there, but we definitely both eye rolled.
And his third goal was to create an English settlement in the land called Guyana and try to reduce the commerce between the natives and the Spaniards. So basically, he just wanted to get English foot up in there, all up in there.
Yeah, you had to do something, right?
Yeah, because England doesn't have the rest of the world that they've already conquered. They need more. Anywho, though Raleigh never found El Dorado, shocking, he was convinced that there was some fantastic city whose riches could be discovered. Finding gold on the riverbanks and in villages only strengthened his resolve. In 1617, he returned to the New World on a second expedition, this time with Lawrence Keymis and his son, Wat Raleigh, to continue his quest for El Dorado. However, Raleigh by now was an old man. He had to stay behind in the camp on the island of Trinidad. Wat Raleigh was killed in a battle with Spaniards, and Keymis subsequently committed suicide. So upon Raleigh's return to England, King James ordered him to be beheaded for disobeying orders to avoid conflict with the Spanish, and he was executed in 1618. I know that escalated very quickly, but
very
that's
quickly.
all the information I have.
Did we buckle up? No,
I don't think
okay,
so.
Me neither.
I forgot that that's the one that escalated very quickly.
It's okay. We're here. We survived.
So now I'm going to talk about Lake Guatavita, which I talked about a little bit earlier. While the existence of a sacred lake in the eastern ranges of the Andes associated with native rituals involving gold was known to the Spaniards possibly as early as 1531, its location was only discovered in 1537 by Conquistador Gonzalo Jimenez de Quesada, one of the first guys we talked about.
Right.
He discovered it while on an expedition to the highlands of the eastern ranges of the Andes in search of gold. In Expedition Unknown, they actually get permission from the Muisca people. Like, they have a ceremony and stuff so that they are blessed so that they can go and see the ritual site. And like, this is where they would do like the man in gold ceremony, like the leader ceremony.
Oh, okay.
Interesting.
Okay.
So yeah, this is where supposedly it happened.
Huh. Alrighty.
So conquistadors Fonte and Perez de Quesada attempted unsuccessfully to drain the lake in 1545 using a bucket chain of laborers.
Sorry.
Yeah. No.
Okay.
Yeah. After 3 months, the water level had been reduced to 3 meters, and only a small amount of gold was recovered, with a value of 3,000 to about 4,000 pesos, which in today's money was around $100,000. So,
oh shit. Okay.
later, more industrious attempts were made in 1580 by Bocata business entrepreneur Antonio de Sepulveda.
Mm-hmm.
A notch was cut deep into the rim of the lake, which managed to reduce the water level by 20 meters before collapsing and killing many laborers, which managed to reduce a share of the findings consisting of various golden ornaments, jewelry, and armor was sent to King Philip of II of Spain. The discovery came to approximately 12,000 pesos, and I tried to figure out how to convert that from pesos in the 15th century to pesos nowadays to American dollar. I don't know. It's just, I don't know. Sorry.
We'll just assume it's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
Another thing that's kind of like frustrating about this is because the artistry that went into like them with their gold is like completely lost, because once the Spain retrieved the gold, they melted it down to coins and shipped it to Spain.
Wow.
So like there's a museum in the city Bogota that they have a very vast collection of like these gold artifacts, but that is said to be 5% of what used to be.
Wow.
Yeah.
Freaking people.
Yeah. So again, in 1898, exploitation of the lagoon of Guatavita, which is a name, you're just saying what you are doing, so I guess own it, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
It was formed and taken over by the Contractors Ltd of London. In a deal brokered by British expatriate Hartley Knowles, the lake was drained by a tunnel that emerged in the center of the lake. The water was drained to a depth of about 4 feet of mud and slime. This made it impossible to explore, and when the mud had dried in the sun, it had set like concrete.
Oh no, you dummies.
Artifacts worth only about 500 euros were found in auction at Sotheby's of London. Some of these were donated to the British Museum,
which is what we're going to be doing at some point. We could do that for a chaotic chat.
We could do that for a chaotic chat for sure,
because that's coming up soon.
The company filed for bankruptcy and ceased activities in 1929. Shocking.
Shocking.
But it's funny because in Expedition Unknown, when like they're telling Josh Gates like all of these different times where they tried to get the gold from the lake, he's like, it's kind of cursed to try and get the gold from the lake, huh? And I was
maybe
like,
we shouldn't do that.
I was like, that's a very good way to put it, because every time they failed and like insane. In 1965, the Colombian government designated the lake as a protected area. Private salvage operations, including attempts to drain the lake, are now completely illegal.
Good.
Yeah, very good. Which brings me to my summary. So, the City of Gold may have never existed, but the legend and myths of it led to suffering and death and nearly the destruction of entire native cultures and civilizations. But now that same legend is leading the way to find those lost civilizations. Though there may not be any treasure of monetary value left to find, in my opinion, there is much more value in the history of those cultures lost to time. So, yeah. Because like in the second episode of the Expedition Unknown that they did on this, they were basically they went into the jungle to find an old city that used to exist that doesn't anymore.
That's really cool.
But yeah, and I think that's cool that the legend is still living on. It's just in a different way to where we're rediscovering the tribes that live. Yeah.
It's not destroying lakes and ways of life and religious sacrifices, but kind of like
religious purification. Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's something. There's a word and I want to use it and I don't know what it is. So I'll find it tomorrow probably.
Anyways, full circle, I think. Yeah. Just that we're rediscovering those civilizations that were taken, abused, and ravaged.
Not cool.
Yeah. That's the story of El Dorado.
Nice. It's very
Apparently, also fun fact, apparently the Muisca never mined the gold. So how did they get it? They traded salt. They were known as the salt people. So they would trade salt for gold. And salt was almost more valuable than gold back then.
Interesting.
At the time.
Okay, that was really cool. I did not know that. I've heard of El Dorado. I've seen the kids movie. That's about the extent of my. So, ready for mine?
Yes.
Though I feel like you might know more about this than me because you started researching it. But
I didn't get too far. I was just,
okay.
Yeah.
If you have things that you want to add, feel free.
Atlantis is fascinating to me.
See, I feel like we should have switched.
I should have gave you El Dorado.
As I do the Spanish and you know what? It's fine. It's fine. Because it was very interesting once I got into it. And
also, we need a live action Atlantis movie. We don't need what they're giving us now. We want Atlantis and Treasure Planet. And
oh my God. Yes. Treasure Planet would be so good. Okay. I'm doing the Lost City of Atlantis. So don't really have to buckle up. It's interesting. I like having the buckle up stories. And maybe that's why this one I was just like, oh, that's interesting, but there's no bah, you know what I mean?
Right.
I live for that.
I mean,
so
it disappeared
okay.
if it existed, right?
If it existed. Yeah. Okay. So, brief introduction. Those of you who don't know who've been living under a rock. The lost city of Atlantis is first mentioned by the Greek ancient philosopher Plato more than 2,300 years ago and is known as one of the oldest and greatest mysteries of the world. According to Plato, the utopian island kingdom existed some 9,000 years before his time and mysteriously disappeared one day.
Wait, so he wrote about it even though he never... Oh, I thought he saw it.
I think he saw it was stories that he experienced. He saw pictures and stuff of it. I believe we're gonna get there.
Okay.
Famed for having which also aliens. Anyway, famed for having been the exhibit of all worldly pleasures in the world, the city is as enigmatic as it is inviting. Even after years of research, the exact truth about the city has not been found. And that adds even more to all the folklore that is attached to it. So, the story of Atlantis. The quest for the lost Atlantis has fascinated people for thousands of years. So much so that, provided it was a real island, one is left to ponder, where was the lost city of Atlantis supposed to be? In Plato's texts, Atlantis was, quote, larger than Libya and Asia combined, which in Plato's time would have been referred to modern-day northern Africa and over half of Turkey. So this bitch is big.
Okay.
It's a big city. It was situated in the Atlantic Ocean, somewhat outward from the Strait of Gibraltar. It's a landmass large enough that if it really existed somewhere underwater in the Atlantic, it would certainly appear on sonar maps of the ocean floor. So, how did Atlantis come to represent a lost utopian civilization? For that, we can mostly blame or thank, depending on Ignatius Donnelly. In 1882, the former U.S. congressman published Atlantis, the Antediluvian World. That was a mouthful, and I did have to practice saying that. The book laid out over 13 hypotheses centered on the idea that Atlantis had truly existed, and indeed represented a place, quote, where early mankind dwelt for ages in peace and happiness. So this was like a utopian. According to Donnelly, Atlantis was the original source of many ancient civilizations around the world. If one followed the clues in Plato's writing, Donnelly believed mankind could have found Atlantis. So another quote, it would be hard to overstate the impact that this introductory chapter to Donnelly's book had on the future antonology. Yes. Antonology is a thing, which is a study of Atlantis.
Oh.
And that was by Mark Adams, who wrote Meet Me in Atlantis, Across the Three Continents in Search of the Legendary Sunken City, which is a book that came out in 2015.
That's a title.
That is a title, my dude. Maybe Meet Me in Atlantis. You know what I mean? That is a... But interesting, side note here is it would kind of explain some things, how pyramids appear literally all across the world. Like if we all originated from one utopian city that was like the start of civilizations and then we spread out, it would kind of explain like why there's so many similarities across the different like cultures that are like now continents apart. So
or aliens.
I mean, I'm not discrediting aliens didn't build Atlantis, so you know it could be a thing. I don't know. People need to think I'm crazy. I'm not crazy. I like 50% believe what I'm saying. There's like a 50% of my brain that Anyway. Donnelly was inspired, says Adams, by a remarkable discovery in the early 1870s. An amateur archaeologist had used Homer's The Iliad to purportedly unearth the legendary city of Troy.
Wait, really?
And in Iliad, Atlantis was mentioned, so they're like, well, if Troy existed,
did they find the horse too? They found
the horse is made of wood.
Sorry.
I don't know. Was the horse made of wood?
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
Because they set fire to it, and that's how the city caught on fire.
God, I should read more. I did read this. I did read the Iliad. I did.
Really?
It was in high school. I was in like the really smart English. We had to read all the hard books. Anyway, some questions. Where is Atlantis?
Yes. Where?
The biggest question that boggles the minds of all scientists, I don't know if all scientists, because most scientists, is where Atlantis is. The narration suggests that the city is believed to have sunk into the sea after an earthquake or tsunami. So, according to Plato, the so-called Atlantis was a large island near the Rock of Gibraltar and consisted of a Poseidon statue, concentric walls, and canals. Plato also added that the city under the sea should have been somewhere in the Atlantic Ocean. However, no technology has revealed any such town on the ocean bed.
So they think this gigantic city,
Plato does, is somewhere.
Well, the way that he's
ocean.
describing it would have to be in the Mediterranean Sea, not the Atlantic Ocean, right?
Off the strait. So the Atlantic.
Oh, they think it
sunk into the Atlantic Ocean because the Atlantic Ocean's right there on the left.
Right.
I think.
I was thinking it was like on the right side.
Well, some theories suggest that Atlantis is located in the Mediterranean off the coast of Spain. Few also argued that it could even be under Antarctica.
What was I telling you? People believe there's
Full
a
circle
alien civilization hidden under Antarctica.
Which is why they don't want to. For a long time, the Azores was believed to be the site of the Atlantic City.
What's that? Oh, that's compelling. Where's that?
So the Azores is in Portugal.
That looks very compelling.
However, the new research has revealed a new place, and scientists are sure that Atlantis could be found in Cadiz, somewhere between Spain and Morocco waters. Literally all over the world. Got under Antarctica, in the Mediterranean Sea, anywhere,
Portugal,
just anywhere,
like
everywhere. Yeah. The extent of the truth in the story is a mystery in itself. Questions like where Atlantis is or did it even exist is still unanswered. But until the truth beneath it can be unraveled entirely, the world will continue speculating about the existence of the greatest city of all times. So, second question, the unknown size of the giant city. So, in Plato's writing about the mysterious underwater kingdom, he wrote, for the ocean, there was at the time navigatable, for in front of the mouth, which you Greeks call, as you say, the Pillars of Hercules, there lay an island, which was larger than Libya and Asia together. And it was possible for all travelers of that time to cross from it to the other islands, and from the islands to the whole of the continent over against them, which encompasses the veritable ocean. It was a lot of words. So ideally, and this is like not what I was thinking, but this is like what people think the city actually looked like. Okay. So there was like a main island, and then
it's like rings.
Rings.
Yeah.
With like one main way, and that's where the statues were in the middle there. Agreeing with Plato over the size of the island, Tertullian, an early Christian author who believed Atlantis once existed in the Atlantic Ocean, said it would be bigger than today's Libya and Asia combined, which is what we talked about earlier. Since many others proposed the location of Atlantis was in the Mediterranean Sea, narrations have come out scaling the size of the city to Crete, which is Greece's largest island. So they're trying to figure out, like, it'd probably be the size of Crete.
Okay.
However, in many stories after Plato's era, Atlantis was described as a giant city, missing anything about the specific size of the city. Edgar Casey, an American Christian mystic, interesting, suggested that Atlantis and Eurasia were about equal in size. Eurasia was Europe and Asia combined. So he's saying it was that big, but
Like,
that's ridiculous.
all of Europe?
And Asia. So yeah. Third thing we're going to talk about is the tale of God's love. So legend says that the Atlantis city was built by Poseidon himself, the god of the sea, of storms and earthquakes, when he fell in love with a mortal woman named Clito. He made the city on top of the hill on an isolated island in the sea to protect her and named it Atlantis. According to the story, Poseidon walked through the world to find the biggest island until he reached the biggest of them all, Atlantis, and found it inhabited by people who were more beautiful and intelligent than the rest of the world. There he met and fell in love with a woman called Clito. So there's a thing called the Captivation Palace. The new home built by Poseidon for his love in the city of Atlantis was surrounded by rings of water and land, which is the picture I showed you. The 5 rounds of water were connected to the ground with the help of 5 tunnels, where a vast canal connected the outer rings of water to the ocean. The tunnels could accommodate ships, and every route to the city was guarded by gates and towers. Moreover, the wall surrounding the rings was built using red, white, and black rock and decorated with precious metals. Meanwhile, there was another hill called the Hill of Clito, where it was believed Poseidon captivated his wife because he distrusted her loyalty. So huge moats and pillars were surrounded this hill.
He just imprisoned her.
Yep. He's like, oh,
wow.
Mine.
Tell me you're insecure without telling me you're insecure.
Just yoink her, put her in a castle with moats and pillars. Okay. So there's also something called the Golden Statue of Poseidon. So the fable tells that Clito had 5 pairs of twin sons with Poseidon.
That's
5 pairs of twin
lot.
sons. That's 10 babies.
Ouch.
Why are they all sons and why are they all twins? Anyways, it's a fable. The eldest of which was named Atlas. 10 sons inherited the great city, and the first child, Atlas, became the first ruler of Atlantis. However, it is believed that they also built a massive temple for their father, with a great statue of Poseidon riding a chariot carried by winged horses. The statue was utterly built in gold and placed in a temple with a spiral roof so high that the clouds drifted through the spirals of the temple. So the self-sufficient and prosperous city, the fertile and beautiful city of Atlantis, where half god and half human live, is believed to have been an autonomous region where people grew their food and reared animals. Farmers in the city used to grow crops in the fertile plains on the outskirts with the help of well-maintained irrigation systems. They also built beautiful buildings and other architecture from black and red stone materials. They also had access to rare metals and even alloys like brass, used crystals extensively for leisure and experimental purposes, and had a lot of free time to play with volcanoes.
But
Just go play with them.
how do you play with a volcano?
I don't know, but I really don't want to find out. I would like to see a volcano from a very far distance. I think that's about it. Volcanoes always fascinated me, but...
Oh my god.
Other than the legend of the lost city of Atlantis and other fables, the fact about the city remains unknown. Among historians and other researchers, the findings of Edgar Casey had something different to tell. Edgar Casey believed in the rising of the lost city once again, like the sun rises from the sea. He predicted the new land would appear off the east coast of North America. Let's go. I can see just Atlantis are rising. He also suggested that the souls of many people who lived at Atlantis had been incarnating to America to usher a new era of enlightened human consciousness. So we got some incarnations of Atlanteans here in the North America. So when the city arises, we could just go back to it. Chosen people.
Okay.
Ha! So Atlantis extraterrestrial connection. Aliens.
Alien.
I had to say something. So stories also claim the original inhabitants of the lost city of Atlantis are believed to be of an extraterrestrial origin and reached there about 50,000 years ago from the Lyrian star system.
Oh, they even know which star system they came from?
I guess. Despite being much taller and fairer than today's average human being, the average lifespan of these people is believed to be 800 years, making them robust prototypes of the extant human race then. So they're taller, they're prettier, and they live to be 800. So yeah.
Wow.
Speaking of exceptional powers of Atlanteans, as some claim that the lost city of Atlantis was on Mars or just a colony of alien civilization, the inhabitants of the Atlantis city are believed to possess exceptional powers, such as the ability to control the weather and modify volcanic eruptions, which is how they would play with volcanoes. Some accounts also mention possessing a device that allowed them to channel energy from time and space. Even though the myth says that the inhabitants of Atlantis City were superior beings, there are some opinions that is just a fictional representation of a brutal fashion of life. So they're just trying to make something that wasn't pretty. Is the fable based on actual events? While many consider the lost city of Atlantis a conspiracy theory, many studies doing the rounds suggest that the fable is actually based on events. Ocean explorer Robert Ballard finds logic in the story as it has similarities with a massive volcanic eruption on the island of Santorini in the Aegean Sea near Greece. Ballard said a highly advanced society that lived there disappeared suddenly. Sounds like the city of Atlantis, maybe? Similarly, Ignatius Donnelly confirms the existence and disappearance of a mid-Atlantic continent in the exact location that Plato mentioned. So, as the debate continued, few researchers claimed that this utopian kingdom was a whole continent located off the Bahamas, and the Bermuda Triangle later swallowed it up.
Okay, that one's a little far-fetched, I think.
I want to do the Bermuda Triangle at one point because at the same time, another group suggested currently Antarctica. It's hiding under Antarctica.
But why would an island get to Antarctica?
It would sink, I think.
Or it sank and all the people just fled. They left a nice climate to a freezing one.
To go to Antarctica? I don't know. Or global warming. So, meanwhile, James Rahm, a professor at Bard College in Annandale in New York, says Plato created the story to convey some of his philosophical theories, mostly about his vision of an ideal civilization. So, he thinks it was all just made up to kind of give an idea of what a utopian would look like, should look like. So, to wrap it up, where is it? Where are you?
Where are you?
Researchers have previously proposed that Atlantis is located on the Greek island of Santorini and the Italian island of Sardinia or Cyprus. However, the recent research shows that the city may be found between Spain and Morocco waters. Cadiz. The region is quite prone to tsunamis. The largest one that occurred November 1755 and is documented in historical accounts. But according to a TikTok Nikki found, which obviously you can trust everything you see on TikTok.
Right.
They said that they think it might be in the Sahara Desert because apparently there's a thing called the Richat structure. It's also commonly referred to as the High of the Sahara. What's so crazy about that is it happens to match more than a dozen striking similarities to what Plato had described as the lost city of Atlantis, which was set to made of 3 concentric circles, 3 of water, 2 of land, which matches the Richat structure. So it also said to have an opening to the sea to the south, and if you look at it from satellite imagery, you could clearly see that water had run through it. Also, it was said to have mountains to the north, and it just so happens to have the Atlas mountain chain, which Atlas was said to be the first king of Atlantis. So coincidence?
Insane.
Yeah,
because I guess
really
pretty much all of Africa used to be a lush, habitable place, and then something catastrophic happened, and it turned into a desert. So that would make sense that if Atlantis existed there, that the catastrophic event happened and Atlantis disappeared along with everything else. I think that one has the strongest evidence. Not gonna lie. People may say it's complete bullshit, but it really does have a lot of what Plato said.
It really does.
And
that shout out to Hulk Rogan clips on TikTok, because that's where I got that. Yeah, so another question, how did it fall? According to mythological accounts, the city of Atlantis fell as the people became greedy and immoral, which angered the gods, who sent them a night of fire and earthquakes that led to the city being drowned.
Oh, so it's people's fault.
According to researchers, the cause of the fall was also a terrible earthquake, which swallowed the civilization in no time. So, earthquake. When did it exist? In Plato's writing is the only real proof of the existence of the city. You call it proof? He mentioned that it existed 9,000 years before his time. Its stories were passed down by artists, poets, and writers. So that's the story of Atlanta. What do you guys think? Where do you think it is?
Interesting. I think it's interesting that a story about so-called mythical place lasted 9,000 years for someone to write it down. So like there's gotta be a hinkling of truth in that, right?
You would think.
Right? Like
maybe.
I don't know.
Probably.
Right.
Yeah, so that's my story.
I hope Atlantis existed. I don't know. Wishful thinking. Really cool. I wish it did exist. You know what I mean? Like I just think that's cool.
It is really cool. And it was fun to research too. So thank you for that idea.
You're welcome.
I appreciate you. All right, so that's it for this episode. Guys, if you enjoyed the podcast, don't forget to follow us. Leave a comment if you're watching on YouTube. Hi! Like and subscribe, guys. Please, we appreciate you. Love seeing new friends, new faces. I guess you don't see new faces. You know what I mean. You
can also find us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok with our username at TTATA Podcast. And in the bio of all of our social media is our link tree, which has our email. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, topic ideas you want us to cover, hit us up. Let us know.
Yeah, thanks for listening. Next week, we're going to be doing Unsolved Mysteries. Let's go. I'm excited.
Are you going to do another missing person and piss me off?
Maybe. It pisses you off. No, I don't know. I don't know. I'm going to do some research. I'm going to watch some of those Unsolved Mystery things on Netflix and see if I can find going. I don't know. I hate doing missing people too, so. Although you could do the Chicago people.
That's insane. Guys, if you live in listen to us right now. If you live in Chicago and you're a male, do not go out on the streets alone by yourself. There are bodies popping up all over in the Chicago River. Do not be one of them.
You should do that to bring awareness to it. Plus I want to know all about it.
I mean, there's no information because the cops won't believe that there's a serial killer. Like, they don't believe. Like, they were literally, I think I saw a TikTok the other day, literally looking for someone else and they found a different body. Like,
that's insane.
It's insane right now. If you're in Chicago, be safe.
So
be safe. Yeah. Don't walk alone on the streets at night. Yeah. Crazy.
Okay. And with that, we're going to leave you with this inspirational quote.
So, too many of us are not living our dreams because we are living our fears. By Les Brown.
I feel like that's been, I don't know if it's been like a theme recently, but like I've heard that like a lot. Like, don't let your fears drive your future. So
somebody must be trying to get a message to you then.
I think so. It's like, because I'm starting my new job in 2 weeks and I'm actually scared. Like, I'm nervous. Like, right. I want to, because I really love my job in New York and I want this to work and I want to make a good amount of money, and like I think I'll be good at it. I've just never done anything like this before, so we'll see. No fear. Okay. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.